We say to America is be true to what you said on paper.
I wish that I could freely dream and be judged from within, hunted by a power that cannot see past my skin. My views are viewed as ignorant, my truth always denied. My history is shrouded in a spider web of lies. Isn't this America? Or is this America?
It's a lie.
Freedom of speech.
It's a contradiction.
Of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
I cannot pledge allegiance to.
So maybe America's just a conspiracy.
It's a truth.
The conspiracy's coming out. The truth comes out, yes.
On full display.
My leaders are assassinated
Whenever you-
for speaking their mind.
I still hear the music.
Justice never.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. Boy, that song has never been so relevant, right? You know, it's only when we selected that, several years ago as our theme song, intro song, we knew it was true. The words are powerful.
Yeah.
And people just kind of just thought it was just words. But it's actually an indictment on America. And we're seeing it in full disclosure, in full view today.
Absolutely.
Is this America or a lie? No, this is America.
No, it is America. Let's just say that it's a contradiction. It's a lie. It's a conspiracy. It is just everything that is now. It's removing the mask.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so now people are going to see it for what it is.
Right. Well, I think some of us have.
Yes.
Those who haven't. So, good morning, folks. You're listening to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. I'm your host, Larry Ellison. In studio, my brother from another, the Rhodes Scholar is here. He's sitting in the doctor's seat.
Yes.
Throwing me off. Brother Rhodes Pierre is in here this morning. The doctor is getting a checkup from the neck up. He's a little under the weather today.
Yes.
So, hope you feel, brother. Our prayers are with you this morning. Dr. Bradley's taking a well-deserved day off.
Yes, he is.
But he's always here giving. But
always his insight and basically it's going to be missed today.
well, we're going to channel it through you through that chair.
Hopefully,
so
yeah.
we'll be good. You'll be good, right? I said. So if you want to give us a call in number here is 617-282-0685. 617-282-0685 is the number. I want to thank our sponsors, The Money Store, for all your mortgage needs. Give branch manager Cora Holbrook a call at area code 508-345-4726. That's 508-345-4726. Also want to thank Cruz Construction for their continued support, as well as the MAMLEO membership. Like I said, without them, there wouldn't be any us.
No, absolutely.
So,
thank them. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
and
MAMLEO.
reminding MAMLEO members that today is a general membership meeting at 12 noon at MAMLEO headquarters at 61 Columbia Road. I'm sure you'll get, and if you haven't already gotten a reminder, you will probably be receiving one for today. It is October 11th. I can't believe, man, time is flying.
It is definitely flying.
The year is almost gone, my brother. Almost gone.
Can't be gone quick enough.
4 years.
Yes, exactly.
It seems like it's been 4 years.
It
Seems like it's been 4 years, but we'll get through this. Like I said, we were built for this.
We hope so. Like the Romans went 400 or 500 years. You know what I mean? Like we're at 250 or
250.
Yeah,
that's it.
so maybe
Yeah.
But again, like it's like after as they say, what goes up must come down. So
and he who hasn't learned from history are doomed to repeat it. And
yes.
here we are.
Yes.
In this,
And it is again by design, as they say.
Absolutely.
It wasn't by accident we got here.
Yeah.
It was like someone definitely, or some people definitely make sure that the things are happening the way they are.
Absolutely. So we're going to
again, the word is a system.
dive into quite a bit of that.
Yes.
This morning, also in our 8 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking about the recent spat between the OPAT, and I hope your brother Jamal is listening. He'll be able to call in and give us his insight on that, between OPAT and the administration's Office of Police Accountable and Transparency is now calling out Police Commissioner Michael Cox for, basically null and voiding anything that they do. And this is what we're saying: when you don't have independence, you call an independent body, but it's not independent if the commissioner has the final say. Then it's just an extension of the police department, and I think people are suspect of anything that is not separate from the two that will continue.
Well, it's like Trump stacking the court for decisions to be made in his favor.
Hello, his judges. That's what autocrats do. So it's shame on us for allowing it to take place. But with that said, I'm going to say hearty good morning to Brother Jamal. Good morning to Brother T. Michael. Good morning to Sister Denise Reed. Good morning, Sister Priscilla. Good morning, Brother Jamal. Good morning, Brother Dick. Good morning, Brother Cliff. Good morning to our sister Michelle out there as well.
Well, I'd like to say good morning to our sister Renee and our brother Lieutenant Perkins from the Boston Fire Department.
All right, okay.
They say they listen.
Okay, good. That's good. And, it's funny you say that. I run into people like, "Oh, I listen to the show." I say, "Why you don't call?" Nah, I'm not one of those people that call. I listen. I'm like,
it's good information. It's great information.
But here's the thing, Brother Rhodes. They want to then call me out or talk about. I'm like, that's why the show. I'm like, you have 2 hours.
Exactly. Call me out, talk about it.
Right. You want to trap me. We don't know when to hear the conversation. It's okay.
You're like, well, speak now or forever hold your peace. Right. Okay. Yeah, this is the opportunity, right?
Listen, I heard that at the altar. And I always still have to hold my peace. Actually, today is my 15 years. Well, I've been married 13, but my 15th year anniversary when I met my wife. It's been 15 years.
Oh, nice. Oh,
happy
beautiful.
Anniversary to my lovely wife.
So, we'll talk about off air.
Right. Someone will grab me. See, he's. I just said I'll leave, and here you go. I'll grab you after.
Well, because it's going anyway.
Okay, I got you. And we can't forget our brother down there in Indiana, Brother.
No, we can't.
Since you're in the chair, you have to do the honor.
Okay. Good morning.
No,
but we're going back to Indiana.
Good morning, Brother Bridgeforth, down there in Indiana, a real red state. How are you, brother? Hope you're doing well down there. It's probably just as cold down there as it is here today. So
people were very surprised that how cold it got.
They were in t-shirts and shorts last week with 80, 70. We were like,
and waking up one morning, it was like 40 degrees. What?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be heading south like the birds soon, to take advantage of buying property in the South. I don't like the state's politics, but the weather is fine. I look this morning, it's 80 degrees for the next 10 days.
It's good days to be down there.
Yeah, I think we are done with 80s here. So, but without further ado, Renee, good morning, Renee. No, let me do it right. This Miss Renee Wise is in studio engineer for Pastor Hobbs' and we have the honor. This is twice this week I've had Renee engineer for me. I want to say good morning. And, we always start with prayer, so we're going to put you on the spot, Renee. We want people to hear from you.
Amen.
Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning. Just want to thank you, praise you, and glorify your name. Lord, I thank you for blessed MAMLEO. Lord, I thank you for watching over them. Heavenly Father, ask that you protect their going and their coming. Move mightily in and through and all over this broadcast. We surrender it all over to you, and we thank you. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Amen. Pastor Hobbs, you might be in trouble. I know, because she said she's not going to shave her head, so he'll be back. Again, you're listening to At the Round Table with me. The calling number here is 617-282-0685. 617-282-0685 is the number. I was talking to Brother Rose, and then this is in his wheelhouse. With all that's happening, the government is shut down. We're in for some very tough financial times coming up. And I keep telling people that, a GoFundMe is not a life insurance policy.
No, it is not.
it is not the way you should be handling your affairs, right? So we're not going to be offering any financial advice this morning, but we're just going to be trying to give people a little guidance in this hour, right?
Yes.
And I know that's what you do
Yes.
outside of here. Some of the basic things, Brother Rose, that people can do to get their house in order. In fact, and a lot of times they don't even own the house, right? And that's one of the biggest mistakes, being a renter all your life. Now, look, for full disclosure, I own properties, and I love having tenants because that's what pays my bill, allows me the lifestyle. But I'm always glad when one of them is telling me that they're buying a home, because I'll always find someone else. I'm saying is that is the generational wealth that we talk about a lot of times. When the glow spotlight, it's been over 20 years now, hard to believe, that the net worth of Black Boston, and they were specific, Black Boston was $8 compared to $247,000 for white Boston.
We own nothing. We don't own businesses. We don't own homes. So I can't say, generally speaking, there are a few people that do make it or whatever, but we don't have a collective where it's something that instilled in us that says, okay, this is something that you should aspire to. This is something that you should do. This is how you do it. Although, like you said, the information's out there and they know the steps to do it. Most people don't. That's the unfortunate part. And they do put obstacles in front of you that make it a little difficult. It's not easy, but it's still possible.
Absolutely. Well, here's one of the things, when that article came out and people were approaching me, I could tell whether or not they were homeowners, because they would say, well, see, white people get those good jobs and black people don't. This has nothing to do with the job, right?
Yes.
If you owned a home 30 years ago and it's close to paid off or paid off,
absolutely.
Yes, you're going to have to continue to pay the taxes, but you've eliminated your mortgage.
Yes.
Or if you have tenants that are paying, because when you quit your job, you might get a pension, depending on the type of job you have, or you might be collecting Social Security. It's not going to be anywhere near what you might have been making working every day, but there's an expiration date. The residual from your income from your tenants, it doesn't stop. Yeah, if they don't pay it, but I mean...
But generally speaking, because of the cost of living rising, you can also raise the rent and then keep up with the inflation and taxes that come with owning the property.
You have more control over your financial situation, right?
Yes.
Than if you've been renting for 30 years and now you go to leave, all you can take is your personal belongings, right? You've built up no equity in that property. So, Brother Rhodes, help us out here. Someone who is a novelist, is looking, a young person starting out, because I've sent people to you and they have been very pleased with what you've been giving them advice. Like I said, we're not offering financial advice this morning.
But all I will say is that there's some principles that work no matter what. Okay? If it works for a nickel, it'll work for $1 million. Okay?
Right.
Investing takes time. Okay? Money takes time to grow. And so if you start early, it will pay dividends in the future.
So it's like a tree.
Yes.
Right?
You got to establish the roots for the tree to be able to give you the fruit. And if you don't have those roots established, obviously the tree is not going to be stable enough to be able to produce the fruit. But the things that people have to understand is that the information's out there. Okay. Do you know how many times you go to the library and they're like first-time home buyer seminar? People get the information, but part of the whole thing is like people do get the information, but they don't do anything with it.
Right.
Okay.
To that point too, you think a lot of times they're not prepared, because I think when they go there and then it's a little intimidating when they find out that their credit's not in order. They've got all these bills, and so to acquire a home, you're going to need some finance. There are different agencies, different support for you, but you have to get some things in order.
The basis of any financial planning, the basis of it is saving. If you cannot save, you cannot invest.
Wow.
All right. So at first, if the people even have a bank account, a checking account, if they have money saved up, they already the basis of the principle to build the wealth in order to start that. Because books I would recommend people reading, the principles, like The Richest Man in Babylon.
Okay.
Great book. Kind of has 10 principles that no matter what, although they use camel cows and things as examples, the advice still works.
Right. The concept
still works. Okay.
Right. One of the books I read early on was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay. Yes.
Right. And my daughters, they're reading books of that. Right. We still go to the library.
Yes.
We're doing those things and instilling to them, like when we're doing, my partner and I, when we're doing in fact, we have 4 projects in the pipeline right now that we're doing, and we take them to the sites. and we let them see from start to finish
the foundation,
the dust. You
Yes.
know, we get them a dust mat, but we want them to understand the process,
Absolutely.
right, of what it takes, and that this doesn't happen. You know, you're living in a nice home and things will, but this is how you get there.
Yes.
You know, and that you're going to have to put some sweat equity, and so we go and we get dirty.
Yes.
There we're all.
Well,
Yes.
you guys get dirty now, but in the future you expect them to be there doing this through AI or through a computer and
running
the-
because
yes.
you know what's interesting. I was listening to a radio show the other day, and they were talking about like people who make less than $30,000 a year are more likely to eat out more 3 or 4 times a week, right? Which they can't afford.
Yes.
Are more likely to be lottery players, right?
Yes.
Playing the lottery because that's
That literally is their financial plan. It's like, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win.
Right.
Yeah. So it is unfortunate, but the truth of the matter is, we look at the lottery as a voluntary tax on the poor. Okay. So it's like rich people pay it maybe once in a while, but people that feed it are the poor people that keep putting more money into it, and they have again, 1 in 300 million.
Yeah.
Okay, of winning.
Yeah.
The odds are always against you.
No, because I remember, look, for full disclosure, growing up, they used to have, I know you guys are probably a little too younger, but they used to have the bookie joints, right? And my mom would play the numbers every day, right? Because she didn't have a whole lot, and I would take them up there and give them to these guys. But it doesn't even come into mind for me to play the lottery. It's not like on my list where some people, it's their to-do list every day, and now they have it multiple times, and they have all kinds of
it's
games.
funny, exactly. It started off just on Friday. Now it's Friday, Saturday,
It's every
Tuesday,
day,
Wednesday,
except
Monday,
Sunday.
except Sunday.
Sunday you can play the daily, but you cannot
play
play the
the
other.
other.
Well, you can buy the tickets, but then
But the drawing comes out on those.
Only the daily comes out on Sunday. But you see where we've come in.
Yes.
in your,
But also notice the factor here, okay, that these are all industries that were made by the mob. Okay, the numbers was run by the mob. Okay, when they banned alcohol, okay, or for 13 years, the black market was created for alcohol through the mob. Okay, and so they studied the same thing with making marijuana illegal. They studied the industry through the black market, and now they realize, okay, now we can control it. Now let's make it legal and tax it.
Well, same with marijuana now,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And now they banned menthol cigarettes, and now you can go down Nubian Square and pay twice as much for them. if you.
And the thing I'm trying to kind of highlight here is the fact that Uncle Sam basically sees the dollar signs. Okay,
Right.
and again, the thing is, it's like we think we live in a free market society, but the market, a lot of things have been decided for us behind the scenes, like in Washington D.C. with the lobbyists, with the lawyers, the Congress. So,
well, I like the way you framed it as a voluntary tax on poor people.
Yes.
People willingly go in their pocket and buy these scratch tickets, and
the government says we use the money for schools, for this and that, whatever. We don't know where, but bottom line is,
So they claim. So Rhodes, again, how do we start moving folks and folks, we want to hear from you. Are you renting? Are you owning? What are you projecting out to try to change your situation? Have you seen the Globe article? Matter of fact, I was in a recent report with them where they did an update on it, and our situation has gotten even worse because the value of your home in Boston is $1 million if to buy a home in Boston. So now that home is even worth even more, and if you're still a renter trying to get into that market now, it's probably
it's extremely hard. I mean, like right now, what people are doing, some people are doing the alternatives where they get into a group, like 4 or 5 of them, and they start they pool their money together to purchase a home, and they have a contract worked out in order to be able to get started. But again, it is like you said, it has gotten extremely harder to get into the market but you got to start where you can. Okay, figure out where you can afford to purchase and purchase and
maybe
start.
Maybe a condo, right? We've had guests on the show to say, hey, because before you could buy the whole building, it was a 3-family. Now that 3-family has been converted into condominiums, right? So you can
only buy one floor.
You can only buy one floor,
yes.
Right? But if you, and I know Renee's a homeowner, so I know she's living there saying, wow, during all the struggles and tribulations of owning a home, best decision you've probably made, right? Because you control your fit, and a lot of people are not in that situation.
No, what I can say is that it is a principle of like understanding that you're going to be building equity.
Yeah.
Okay. It takes time.
Yeah.
Like I said, it takes time for your money to grow. Like that, just because you bought that house today. Because I remember when my parents purchased their first home in Mattapan, $16,000.
Wow.
That same house now is going for 1.5.
That's not even the down payment. That's not even the
No,
down
it's
payment.
not. No, that's literally, and then they $16,000 and $30,000 for the 3 floors. We had 3 floors. We lived on the middle floor.
Right.
We had renters on the top and the bottom.
Right.
But that,
So Rhodes, the other thing I mentioned in the beginning, that people treat the GoFundMe as an insurance policy, and that is really the basic, because the younger you are to acquire insurance, it's cheaper.
yes.
We're seeing. I remember the guy used to come to my mom's every week or once a month, and he would have this little book. She would pay him for the insurance. For everything.
Oh, God. Yeah, I do. Right. Like, I was told that
Right,
by the time I joined the industry. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, so that stuck with me, getting the insurance early on children, because it was cheaper to do so.
Yes.
Now folks don't get insurance. They look at a GoFundMe as an insurance policy and try to play on people's sympathy. But is that a prudent way to play?
It's not viable. And the unfortunate thing, people don't realize, too, that GoFundMe, if they don't feel like your actual cause is legit, they can withhold the money.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So it's like if they found out it's a lie or it's fraud, it's not what it is. But they also take a percentage of that.
Right.
They take a huge percentage of that.
Right.
If you're not a 501(c), if you're not a nonprofit, a chunk of it goes to GoFundMe.
So,
they got to pay their bills too.
Right. So it's a business. It's
Yeah.
not, it's, like I tell people, when you go to the funeral home and they tell you, I'm sorry for your loss, they're not talking about your loved one. They're talking about the money they're about to extract out of your pocket. So I think we have a caller there. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
Yes, good morning. This is T. Michael from the People's Academy.
Good morning, Mike.
Good
Good morning, T. Michael.
Perfect segue, T. Michael, because
Yes.
I know you're trying to help people to get into that middle class,
Yes.
that generational wealth with the People's Academy.
Because the way to build savings is through income. So that's what he tries to get the young brothers to have, skills and income.
For one of the things, there's a lot I have to say on this whole subject, but part of the foundation is to get started. This is just my personal opinion. Is self-esteem and then getting away from status mindset. Meaning, if you want to get in as a homeowner, yes, it's high, yes, it's tough, because the system is rigged against certain groups. But we also have to start off where, when I said self-esteem, stop looking at what others are doing in order to fit in, because right there it breaks down and it costs you money. Meaning, you mentioned about you're making under 30 grand and you're going out to eat. They think they have to fit in. That's the self-esteem part.
The perception, right?
Right. And then the status part, whereas they want to prestige, put this persona out there that they're living in this. They chase status instead of chasing a foundation.
Yeah. Well, I remember to that point, Oprah, when she was on, she talked about that, how people would go out to dinner and the food would be digested and then sent down the toilet, and they were still paying for it a year later on their credit card, right?
Wow.
And now most credit card companies, even if you have good credit, it's over 25% interest every month, right? So, and then people get a little bit of room on the card after they pay the minimum payment, and they go right back out and charge it, not understanding as well that if you leave a balance on your card,
Yes, you're paying interest on
you're
that.
paying on interest on that, and then the new stuff you buy. But if you pay it off in full, like
no interest, you just earn points.
All my properties and stuff that I do, I put all that on my credit card, right? I've got over 2 million points, right? We fly for free because I use my credit, but we pay it in full.
So you're not paying interest.
We're not paying interest, and we're getting a benefit from it, right?
Absolutely.
But I get it. Another thing, part of the problem for some of us is priorities. So instead of, getting away from the name brand and all this other stuff and put your money into investment to what's owning piece of the rock, we got to go places. We got to go out to eat like yourself. We got to buy these certain cars that depreciate once you drive off the lot.
Listen.
Instead of getting a van or a pickup truck that you can make money
with. Yes,
pay your bills, get away from the sports stars, Benz, Beamers, etc.
No, you're right. See, I have people that laugh at me, right? Because my truck I drive, right? I drive an 05 F-150. It's my work truck.
Yes.
The truck makes money.
Yes, it does.
Right?
Yeah.
It makes
From
money.
being able to move stuff, gloss stuff, or what have you.
My mentor, I bought my first home when I was 19 years old because I had a mentor. My mom rented, so I didn't. I remember growing up, my mom told me when I got my summer job, she says, "Okay, go put some money in the bank so you can buy your school clothes when school come back. It'll be enough." I put my money in there. I went back 2 weeks later. I thought I was gonna be a millionaire. I had about 7 cents interest. Right? I'm like, how's this work? So putting the money in the bank is not a real good. I'm not saying to save, but it's not an investment.
No, it's not an investment. No, it is. Your money is secured. It does have some growth potential, and even back then, they actually paid 5%.
And then you got to pay taxes on
that
it,
interest.
right?
Yes, yearly.
Right.
So
you can shelter.
But these days, you can't live off the interest that the bank gives you on the off of the bank account.
He said a beat up ride is better than a dressed up walk, right? So you don't need but I could tell, like I used to, when I was still working, I could drive to the police station. I can tell which cars belong to us, right? Because we felt like we had to impress people. I saw this young officer the other day, he had a $120,000 car standing here. I'm like, right, why? And because I know him, I'm like, why? I said, you own a home? No, I'm working on that. I said, how are you working on that when you're standing out here, right? And this $100,000 car is sitting over there depreciating in value.
Yeah.
If you had plunked that same money into
the
a
down
home,
payment for a home,
right? We'd be moving in the right direction.
Yes.
Right. So
now, can I also chime in on the other part with the real estate part?
Yes.
One of the reasons why real estate is so limited to Bostonians is that, I'm going to call it for what it is. This is not the radio station. This is C. Michael's observation that Department of Neighborhood Development, they're in control of all the land. But if you notice, the people and the groups who continue to put up these multi-unit properties is the same core group of about 20-something organizations. And they each own over 400 plus multi-unit properties, which they push affordable housing instead of affordable home ownership. So when folks are looking at the gentrification and all of this stuff, folks getting pushed out, you need to look at City Hall, because that's where those are the ones who are structuring those processes, the RFP, request for proposal, and denying Bostonians, people who live, vote, and pay taxes here, access to be homeowners.
Right. Well, I remember
they set the bar.
Yeah. No, you're right. I remember again one of the other things. My mentor, he's no longer with us, Charlie Dickerson. When I was buying land and stuff in Roxbury and stuff, and I said, why in these neighborhoods people don't want to live in these neighborhoods? He says, trust me, they will at some point. He said, because you can build more houses, you can't build more land, because places like West Roxbury, South Boston, parts of Jamaica, the prices over there were high, pretty much, and inflated, because most people don't realize the Back Bay was predominantly black. South End, right?
South Bay was, yes.
And we've seen that transform, right, to where now people that look like us can't touch it.
Can't even be there.
I remember, because you talked about what your parents' home owned. So Sergeant Horatio Homer, who was the first black police officer in the city of Boston, he's either the first or second in the country for that. And his family owned a 3-family home down in Beacon Hill. And there's a picture of him standing in front of his home in a picture we have at MAMLEO. And, because I'm in the real estate. And I went and researched that home, the address, because the address was there. The last sale of that home was $8 million. Wow. Right? The last sale. And it's been in the same family for a while. But that's what they bought it for. And we reached out to his family because his grandchildren, they live in Somerville. Matter of fact, when they had a rededication of his plot in Brighton, we stayed connected with them. And I said, just imagine if that house had stayed in that family, where we would be, right? Black Wall Street, right? So there were a lot of examples. So I guess to let you finish, but how do we get people plugged back in? Because people are looking and they don't even really pay attention unless you're invested in the stock market. It has been making record gains, but a lot of our folks are not.
No.
We're consumers of what's making that profit, but we're not benefiting from any returns from the investment.
And again, like, how do you become an investor? You start off small, okay? But again, the thing is to start. And if you purchase products on, like, if you watch Netflix, invest in them. You buy Nikes, invest in Nike, but if you can't afford to. But again, start investing with products that you already know, okay? Because if you're a consumer of the product, you should already believe in it. Then if you're spending money on the product, why don't you pay yourself for being a consumer of the product as well?
But one of the things that the basic things, right, is an insurance policy, right? Because we don't like to talk about it, but we're all going to die,
yes,
right?
And the government banks on you dying. Right. They plan on you dying.
So a lot of times people have built wealth from insurance. That's why you see companies out there now that want to buy your insurance policy, right? Not for what you're going to get for it, but
so they can reap the benefits of it. Yeah. They are companies that they call them I can't remember via, but again, they buy the insurance, the contract, the life insurance or policy, and then off the owner. Right. And then they get the benefits when the owner passes away.
Right. So T. Michael, programs like the People's Academy, I was talking about, I don't know if you were listening to the broadcast on Thursday, I was filling in for Priscilla and Reverend Culpepper, who's running for District 7 City Council. And I was mentioning to him about the People's Academy and that, we definitely have to go into a vocational, because someone that is an apprentice that graduates from the People's Academy and is out there is making on average how much money?
Over $50-$60 an hour.
50-60. So it's close to six figures a year, or about, at least they have the opportunity, right, that they're going to be there. And this is not a knock on, McDonald's or any of those places, but we know that they give you titles there, but they don't give you much money, right?
But can I say something right there, Larry? Mm-hmm. It's important. I'm glad you mentioned that. I predict, and I've been predicting for a while, but I predict less than 5 years, when AI fully kicks in, the number one jobs will be AI, law enforcement, medical, food, construction.
Yeah.
One of the things that the black community, I'm black, so I have to focus on black people, but the black community have scorned the trade for many years because they were left out of college. They were only pushed towards the trade. Now the role has been flipped.
Yeah.
The white community is aggressively focusing on the trade because they know that was the key to the middle class for their parents and their grandparents. And black folks were denied so long, so they're more focusing on college. Well, half of those degrees, and we all will agree, you come out of college, you still owe your tuition.
Yes, right. You're in debt, and
degrees are useless.
Right.
Yes, right. They're useless.
And the
look
other
at
thing,
some of the degrees that we go after, art, all of this foolishness. Where are you going to get a good paying job with that?
And to that point, T-Mike, it's like the Orange Man in Washington D.C., right? He's not only just painting his face now he's painting his hands because he doesn't want people to see what he looks like there either. But AI jobs like construction, they're AI proof, right? AI cannot replace. They can help and assist in some of the plans and whatnot, but AI cannot go out there
put the nails in.
They can't do the fabrication.
Dig the foundation, the whole 9 yards.
Even if they just do the design and you put it on and it does the material and on the machine, they still can't install it.
And guess what? I'm glad you said it. Guess what? Look at the number one trade globally that's most needed. It's the trade that People's Academy is teaching. Right. It starts with, look how God works, Mother Nature, the exterior. You can have trillions of dollars, but if the exterior isn't protected, right?
Yeah.
What good is what's inside of it? And what has People's Academy been teaching? The exterior part of the building trade.
Yeah.
But it's ignored in our community.
Yeah. No, I got to bring
We had visitors, a meeting at TPA on Friday, yesterday, noontime, 4 individuals, Larry, and we'll talk offline, from Baltimore. I wonder why.
Right. Well, every time I see it, because having been around you more and we talk more, I see it popping up all over the country where they're doing these segments on vocational and trades, right? In Boston, I'm like, why aren't we picking up on this?
Well, here it is again. Like, what happened to Madison? I remember that was a flagship school for the city, for the whole state.
Right.
Oh, this is where all the vocations you can learn, from automotive to plumbing to electrical to carpentry. Yes, and
I'm glad you brought up Madison Park. This is important. I'm glad you brought it up because Madison Park, before it became Madison, it was ORC. I went there. Mm-hmm. I got into the union right out of Madison, the Humphrey Center, ORC, and now the mayor just signed some type of agreement that in order to get into the union, you have to go through building pathways. Building pathways do not teach a trade or youth build, and I'm being real. And this is coming from T. Michael and the People's Academy. The People's Academy starts off with 4 trades.
Yeah,
they do not teach a trade, but look at this. What do you say, Larry? Smoke and mirrors, window dressing. That's all that is. And that program is only for 6 weeks. I saw a program in Blue Hill Lab where they had these young folks cleaning up a lot.
Right. Well,
I spoke to their people, and they were like, "Oh man, we've heard of you. We would love to link with you."
Right.
But they're funded by the city. Right. Another training program that the city is funded.
Well, I know it's not serious with the city. They have the Black Man's Group, whatever they call it. And recently,
some type of advancement.
The mayor just announced that she's replacing all those, putting new people in there. And I look at their budget is $75,000 a year on a city budget that's almost $4 billion, right? That the budget for that.
Yeah.
Show me your budget, I'll show you your commitment. Right?
Yes.
$75,000, folks. This is why people say, "Well, the government shut down." I'm like, well, I don't even notice it because I don't depend on it. Matter of fact, if the government stayed out of my way, I'd be better off, right? So this is what I'm saying. When you're letting someone else control your destiny, you're doomed.
Yes.
You are doomed.
Yes.
Because the government is not there to fix.
And no, the government's not your friend. Just remember that.
They're there to exacerbate your problem.
And they're there to keep themselves in business.
Yeah.
They don't invent anything. They don't create jobs. They just literally, what can we extract from the people? Mm-hmm. They've built the industry. They've done these things. Okay, let's see how we can make money. Do you understand that seatbelts were not because Ralph Nader had to sue to get seatbelts in cars. Yeah. They didn't care about people dying or whatever. They're like, oh, we can give people tickets for not wearing their seatbelts. Now we're on board. Like when they see how they can make money, they join the party. Okay, but bottom line is they don't care. Like the idea of like Social Security, when Social Security was first made, okay, they literally were like they set it up. You can get it at 65. You know why they set it up at 65? Most people.
Can I ask you a question right in there about the seatbelts?
Sure.
If it was so important, why if every school bus have no seatbelt on?
Amen.
Right.
Amen on that.
Our most precious
cargo. Yes.
Right? But
I'm just asking.
No, the police people don't know. The state did. They just raised the retirement age for police officers from 65 now to 67.
Okay. Well, that was
so you can work longer and get less of your pension.
But the thing I was trying to point out is when Social Security was first set up, the person, you would get your Social Security at 65. But what was the average person when they were dying at that time? 67. 67. Like they expect you to live 2 years and then boom, we're done with you. Right. All right. Now, because people are living longer. Exactly. And another thing, too, when Social Security first started, for every one person working, and remember, the first Social Security check was something like, I think, like $20 to $40, okay? And that was a benefit that they paid. There was 50 people working to support that one person. Today, for every one person on Social Security, there's only 2.8 people working. Wow! So it's not sustainable. Like people have to realize that by 2035, they're really saying the system will collapse.
It's going to be solvent. So Rhodes, how do we get people to understand financial literacy a lot better? Like I said, T. Michael's program is
T. Michael's program is there, and it is like he says, it's there to build the trades. But people got to come out and they want to learn. They got to want to and that's the thing. Knowing is half the battle. Yeah. If you get the information, do something with the information. Don't just sit there and be like, well, all right, I can't. Yeah, and that's the problem. A lot of times people have the information and you explain it to them, but for some reason, fraction, distraction, whatever it is, they don't follow through.
Wow. Anything else you want to add, brother? We don't.
Because
can I jump in here?
Yes, please.
The trades, right? Now, you spoke about the orange man who's trying to look copper. You know why?
That copper toad.
But at the end of the day, right? That what's happening at Harvard University? That now he sees over $2 billion, and he forced them to say, okay, that money is going to go towards vocational program, trades and whatever, right? The point I'm making is, when we look around, every other major city, urban area, except for Black Boston, refuses to embrace the building trade, one of the most lucrative entities in this country, if not in the world.
Yeah. Well, I think I think a sad part to that too, chapter to that too, is that when the COVID money was here and the city was flush with money, they were wasting on things that they didn't need to, instead of investing in vocation, right? And now that they're short on money, now they're saying we're gonna have to cut back, right? So that wasn't a priority then. That's sure not going to be a priority now. Like they just opened up another elementary school in Rosendale in the mayor's neighborhood, but we haven't built the new high schools. Councilor Yancey, former Councilor Yancey, been talking about that for years when he was in the council, right? He's always going to be a councilor in my mind. But we haven't built a new high school here in the city of Boston. I think Madison Park may have been the last high school. Now, the charter schools, they're popping up everywhere. Yeah. So they're in. But
Larry, we don't. The only trade component is People's Academy and Madison Park, which the last few weeks and months I've been trying to get in there to talk with the principals.
It's a ghost town in the vocation section. The vocational part of the school is a ghost town.
You go by there, you don't see anything going on.
The only thing that really is functioning...
they refuse to let me in for a visit.
Right. The only thing that seems to be functioning
is that's the thing, too, that I wanted to really point out. It's important. They're saying that the Madison Park building needs over $600 million to be brought up to speed in order to train and have those vocational programs in there. That's a lie. Right. It's a lie. That building is structurally sound. Period. It will not, and I'm saying it on the air. We have a plan to go in there to bring that program up to speed, to shop, that it will be attractive to the unions to hire these black and brown kids.
Well,
and I challenge them all the candidates and elected officials, especially the mayor, get me to the table.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Listen, Madison Park would be closed now. You know why the only reason why Madison Park is still there, in my opinion, is because the families whose children are in the O'Brien with the exam school, right? Madison Park is sitting on prime real estate.
Right, yes.
It would have been a lot easier once they relocated the O'Brien to then shut down the school, because there wouldn't be many people fighting to keep Madison Park open because of the problems that it had, right? People
That's always been the goal. Right. They want that building to put in the mall. When Deval Patrick was running for governor the first time, I heard this conversation. I was all the way in Bar Harbor, Maine, at a restaurant with some folks, and they were talking about it.
Yeah,
that was another driving force for me to counteract it by having the People's Academy. So at least if that fails, individuals coming out of high school or returning home will have a place to learn a trade.
No, we've seen recently the recent reports that came out that the Boston public schools, not just Boston, but Boston is worse, that learning is way down, reading and writing and arithmetic, the 3 R's, they're not improved. There's been no improvement. And what saddens me even more is that no one has called out the state when prior to COVID, they were going to come in and take over in the receivership because how bad it was. There's been no improvement, but where's the update on where things stand with whether or not our kids are learning? They're giving them diplomas that they can't even read. So we've got work to do. T, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I'm going to give you a call after the broadcast because I got a couple of questions I want to ask you, some emails I've got.
Absolutely.
I want to make sure that we're on the same page. Appreciate you.
Like I would say, great show, and I will be listening.
Thank you for your contribution to it.
It's always appreciated.
For calling me rather than trapping me outside of here. Right? So, Rose, again, like I said, we're not offering financial advice.
No, I understand, but remember what T. Michael said there was like owning a skill, owning a thing that is valuable right there. Again, that you basically if you own a skill, you can own a job. Okay,
Right.
you can be self-employed,
Right.
and we're trying to tell people that's a start. Right. Being self-employed is a start, but you want to own a business.
But I think people kind of frown on people that they see getting their hands dirty, right? Until you call a plumber. See, when you don't own a home, when the plumber comes, the landlord's paying for it, so you don't realize how much it costs, right?
Yes.
But when you own a home and call the plumber, you don't laugh at them anymore. You realize what
You're like, let me do this myself. No, you're like going let me learn how to do this myself,
exactly, right?
How much?
Right.
I can do this and make the money.
Just for coming out, just for pulling up to say hello,
Yes.
it's $300.
Yes.
And that's not included.
No, and they flip the wrench like,
right.
There you go.
You hear him down there banging.
And then literally the man showed up, and I was like, $75. Thank you, sorry.
Right. Good.
Just to show up.
Yeah.
Doing
a detail for $60 an hour. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the round table.
Good morning. Yeah, as a Winchester boy who does talk to the people I let into office and the ones I don't let into office, and as an observer, I noticed this pattern with both the mayor, the city councils, and even the governor about quote-unquote home ownership, but yet in a city like Boston, where I hate to say it, but it needs to be said that there's almost a black flight because many black people who live in the city, who want to stay in the city, is leaving, and yet we have a mayor and a city councilor that's not doing anything except keep putting that little shiny little carrot in front of our faces, saying
clearly,
that.
Let me just
Go
say,
ahead.
say clearly they're doing a great job because people are overwhelmingly, the mayor's running unopposed. Most of the city councils that are running, I'm just being sarcastic, my brother. You're absolutely right. But this is what you get when you just say, you give people a blank check and say.
Then if people don't vote, again, in the primary, that's where the decision is made.
Right.
If you don't vote in the primary, it doesn't matter.
Right.
When the general election, the decision's already been made in the primary.
Right. No, your point, like I said, this is people being pushed out, as you said, rightfully so. Because part of it was they tried to mask it with giving people, when they were tearing down some of the public housing, giving them Section 8 vouchers. But the caveat was if we gave you a voucher and you moved out, you couldn't move back into the housing. And then they found out that moving out was not really a viable option because it's just as expensive if you're anywhere near Boston now. You can't move to Cambridge, Somerville, right? These places are just as expensive as Boston because of their location to Boston.
Yes.
Right? So, Dick, I'm asking, you don't have to answer if you want. Are you a renter or owner?
I'm a renter.
Okay. So, and how long have you been renting?
Over a dozen years now.
Right. So, and just... do you see any value in renting, right? I mean, compared to the landlord, right? Unless it's a family member giving you a break, right? Has your rent remained the same since you've been since day one?
No.
Right. And so you don't see this as an investment, right?
Nope.
But now, if you were trying to buy a home, are you able to do so in the current economic situations here in the city, even just trying to save, right?
I'm starting to save, but again, I still do my research, and Boston is very hard to even get a home here because it's still one of the most expensive cities in the country to live.
Yeah.
I'm barely getting by as it is now.
Well, again, the proximity of all the colleges and universities, we have the highest concentration of college and universities than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so with all the influx of people coming in, paying for this, and then the cost and tuition I believe it's like the cost of college education has outpaced inflation.
Yes.
Okay, so it's something like to 6.8%, and inflation is supposed to be maintained at 2%.
Right.
So
like BU is over $100,000.
Yes.
So most families that are working every day, if their child graduated, they've got a $400,000 bill, and then when you tack on interest and everything, that's as much as putting down a huge chunk on a home, right?
Part of financial literacy is telling people find a way to attend college for free.
Right.
Get out of it, get your degree, but debt free.
Right.
And then so we instruct people on different ways of doing that, and people don't understand that if you plan early enough, your college can be free.
If you fail to plan, you
plan to fail.
Right.
Yes.
So we talk about this quite a bit on there. We've had people like Cora, who is our sponsor. We've brought different people in here to try to help people get going down that path. Why do you think people just aren't really investing? And really it highlighted how many of our people in our community are renters rather than homeowners by the number of people that have had to move.
Everything is done by designer, and it's sad that when it comes to black people, especially black Bostonians, the history of how we have came from slavery and did everything on our own and built towns and cities, etc., is just that has been falling to the wayside, that we've been so trained in just, we're so conditioned that as long as I have a roof over my head without renting or owning a home, I'm good. I'm not saying anything negative about that. But somewhere down the line, when you start to, when you get married and start having a family, the renting aspect, you can't do that.
Right.
When switching to a home, you have more freedom, more control, more, almost everything basically. But yet, if black people can't change that mindset, and yet if we still, some of us, not all, but some of us, is still relying on these politicians to play Spider-Man to come swing down from his web whenever we're in trouble, stop the crime, and then swing back up his web after the crime is over, we're still going to be crying like a bunch of babies in the same condition that we're in since as long as I've been alive. And the sad thing is, and again, yes, education is important, especially financial education, but if some of us don't search for the information, then we're just going to be still down the roundabout.
Right. We perish from lack of knowledge.
As you say, those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it.
Right.
So the whole financial knowledge is something that
Let me give a perfect example. Yesterday was, there was a professional day in my town, so my daughters were not in school and some of their friends. I loaded them all up in the car. We went down and we went to see the Freedom Trail, not in Boston, but the black one. It actually goes out towards Abington, and they were underground railroads. People don't realize down there. And my daughters were just, and we're seeing these houses that, when you see a lot of these houses with these numbers on them and these names, a lot of those were underground railroad, not all, in these towns, and how small they were and how black people were hiding. And it was because I want them to understand the history, the power of who they are, right? We have to. Other folks are trying to hide it.
Yes, okay, that's the thing too. You got to control the narrative. We got to control the history. Yeah. Okay, we don't have black-owned radio, newspapers, or anything. Okay, so that we get our narrative from them. No, exactly.
Here, right.
Exactly. So that's a big issue in regards to why we seem to be scattered. But another thing I'd like to bring out. Remember, before the 1960s, during the pulpit, the church was where the civil rights movement.
That's why we broadcast it.
Okay, all right, but here's the thing. Think about that. And after the 1960s, with the 501c, the tax code, they kind of silenced the church. They said, okay, you can have that nonprofit, but you can't can't be political speak.
Comes with a muzzle.
Yes, exactly. So, to get back to this also, do you realize that he mentioned the fact that we have built towns and we had our own industry, we lived ourselves, and 18 times in this country they've destroyed every black town. We made Rosewood, Wellington in South Carolina, Rosewood in Florida, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah. Okay, those are the three top, but again, there are 18 other towns that this happened to. But the thing I also want to point out is that back then, home ownership started with the church.
Okay.
They pooled their money together, and the church was like the bank where people borrowed the money from everyone in the church, and everyone started building their own homes that way. And then, in order to start a credit union or get a group rate insurance, which a lot of the churches did, like you can't just, your main purpose can't be just, let's get together so we can buy group insurance. Yeah. You can be a church, you can be a nonprofit or whatever, but bottom line is start to learn to pool the money together to grow as a community.
Right. Dick, any final comments before we let you go, sir?
Yeah. Quick question, Wills, is Wilmington, North Carolina, not Wilmington, South Carolina.
Yes.
And
you're right.
Please support the People's Academy, and I hope Pastor Hawes come back next week because I miss him already.
Oh, dog. Come on now.
I'm sure he's listening.
Yes.
While he's sleeping. Listen, we're happy and honored to have Renee in studio with us here this morning. Appreciate it. Whoa, okay. Thank you, Dick. We're going to be talking about OPAT.
And then Dick, I did call you twice this week, okay?
The spat between OPAT.
Don't go, Rose. I'll contact you.
All right.
No, because you told me to contact you, and I did. I'm just
like,
I did call you twice.
Get started on this financial literacy, brother.
Yes.
All right.
Stop that renting. Stop the owning.
Yes.
All right.
Start where you can, okay?
Get in where you fit in.
What works for a nickel will work for $1 million.
All right. Thank you, sir. Well, Rhodes, it's the end. We lack, people said, Harriet Tubman said I could have freed more slaves.
Only they knew. Because all they had to do was walk away with it. But they wouldn't. They were indoctrinated into that slavery, that mental mindset. And we got to change that. We got to stop being